Today we're going to continue talking about asexual reproduction, and we're going to look at two specific types of asexual reproduction. The first one is called fragmentation. In fragmentation, the original organism divides into pieces and each becomes a new organism. So what happens, and we see this in not only unicellular, but we see them particularly in multicellular organisms, meaning they have many, many cells, like planarian starfish. They can reproduce like this. The parent body divides into two or more fragments or pieces, and then each piece becomes a new offspring. So they all came, there was no mixing of mama genes and daddy genes, so all those new offspring are clones. And a great example is the planarian. The planarian is a type of worm that how many ever pieces you cut it into is the number of new organisms that you can get. If this happened like accidentally, they live like at the bottom of lakes and ponds, then it would grow into two. But when it's time for it to divide on its own, they just split itself down the middle, like between the eyes, and pull apart and make new planarians of themselves. Okay, and that's how they're able to reproduce and make some of their own children. Starfish do this too, and starfish do it can happen if a starfish loses a limb, then that arm will grow into a whole new starfish, and the original starfish will grow back its arm. So now you have a clone of the original starfish made from the arm that was severed, but it was able to regrow. And again, I mentioned before, think of the application if we were able to do this for people who lose a limb in an accident or war. It would be a tremendous thing. Let's watch this short video about planarians.
Thanks to CuriosityStream for supporting PBS Digital Studios.
This goofy little guy is called a planarian. Sure, it's just a flatworm at the bottom of a pond, but it has a very special superpower, one that scientists would love to harness. To show you, well, it's gonna get a little bit slasher movie here. Okay, don't worry. It's going to be okay. Seriously. I promise. It doesn't even hurt. That would be curtains for most organisms. I mean, this piece here is just a chunk with no head and no tail. But watch. You can see under a microscope that overnight its wound heals closed. Okay, maybe we could do that, more slowly of course. But then it starts to regenerate, growing new tissue. It's that white part, called the blastema. In a week, see those tiny little spots? They're new eyes grown from scratch. But the planarian, can I call it that yet? It still kind of looks like a blob. By day 12, it's starting to look like a proper planarian. It's got a head, an entirely new one, and a new tail. And it's doing its regular planarian things, like pooping. That's because one of the first things it started regrowing was a tube called the pharynx, which is how things go in and out. It sucks up food, like this beef liver that scientists are feeding it. After 3 weeks, it looks totally normal. From that one planarian, you get 4. Other animals, like this newt, can regrow a toe or a tail. But planarians are practically the only animal that can regrow a head. So why can't we do that? Well, it all comes down to powerful cells known as stem cells. They're the green dots here, and they make up 1/5 of a planarian's body. They can turn into different kinds of cells and make every new body part. We only have stem cells that act like these when we're embryos. Once we grow up, we pretty much lose this ability. Though doctors have been able to get us to grow back a fingertip. But what if we could grow ourselves anew? A whole arm or a liver? Scientists are trying to figure out exactly how planarians do it. And maybe one day, these humble flatworms could inspire new ways to heal our injuries. Hi, it's Lauren again. This kind of planarian is from San Francisco. Those aren't ears, they're auricles. It uses them to feel around. You can tune in to More Deep Look by following us over to Patreon. You'll get special members-only benefits, like behind-the-scenes peeks at how we make our show. Link.
Alrighty, thank you, Lauren. And let's get back to our notes. The second type of asexual reproduction we're going to look at today is called binary fission. So fission means division. The parent divides into 2 equal halves. So of course, each half is going to become a new organism. It says the parent body divides into 2 daughter cells. They are all clones of each other. They are, because there was no mama organism and daddy organism. It's just one organism that divides into 2. Amoebas and bacteria reproduce in this way. So you start with the mother cell, and then it shares the DNA. It divides off, and now you have 2 cells, and they are identical. They're clones of each other. And remember, there's some good and there's some bad to that. Let's watch this.
Amoeba reproduces asexually by binary fission. Binary fission is a type of asexual reproduction in which the fully grown parent cell splits into 2 halves, producing 2 new daughter cells. At the time of binary fission, the amoeba withdraws pseudopodia and becomes
Hold on. I'm going to have to move that out of the way because that thing is in my way.
Amoeba reproduces asexually by binary fission.
All right, I'm going to make this work without having to retape everything I've done. There we go.
Amoeba reproduces asexually by binary fission. These daughter nuclei move towards opposite poles. This is followed by the elongation of the parent cell. A fissure appears in the middle of the cytoplasm.
And I'm going to start that from the beginning. Sorry, guys. Right there.
Cell splits into 2 halves, producing 2 new daughter cells. At the time of binary fission, the amoeba withdraws pseudopodia and becomes spherical in shape. The nucleus splits longitudinally and divides into 2 daughter nuclei. These daughter nuclei move towards opposite poles. This is followed by the elongation of the parent cell. A fissure appears in the middle of the cytoplasm between the 2 daughter nuclei, dividing the cells into 2 equal halves. Thus, 2 daughter amoebae are produced from a single parent. One of them has the original contractile vacuole, while the other develops a new one. The entire process of binary fission is completed in less than half an hour, but this time varies with temperature.
Are you in my way? Alrighty, and here's just another shot of a show that shows the same thing happening. It splits in half.
Asexual reproduction